Managing uncertainty, 5 top tips to give you, and then we're going to get into emotional overwhelm. Okay? So, as you can see here, lots of question marks that he's trying to lasso. What if scenarios? Wow, 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 what if scenarios. In all the coaching I have ever done, one-to-one coaching, executive, personal, I stay away from the word life coaching because it conjures up bad pictures for people, sports coaching, whatever coaching I've done in my life, and now I've been doing this for 14 years, so I've done quite a lot. This what if scenario is huge for people. It drives people crazy, and there's a reason your brain does it. Your brain does it to try and find out how to keep you safe. So when something goes wrong, or you perceive something might go wrong, your brain tries to conjure up different scenarios so it can put you into fight or flight to ensure that you survive whatever it is that's happening. As some of you guys will know, because you've seen me do stuff before, your fight or flight response is the same now, really, is the same when we were kind of cavemen and women. Unfortunately, our physiology has not changed that much. But your brain doesn't know the difference between fear and danger. It thinks they're the two same things. Most of the things that we do what if scenario thinking about today are fearful, not dangerous, okay? Now don't get me wrong, if you bring COVID in, there's a danger, isn't there? There's a real danger with COVID. If you don't follow the rules, if you don't do this, you don't wear a mask, you might get ill and worse, okay? So there's a perceived danger in there. But with the majority of things, you know, I haven't hit my sales target, you know, the weather, you know, potential lockdown, things like this, those things won't ultimately kill us. I know obviously COVID's a separate situation because there's a perceived danger there. It's fear, but your brain thinks they're the two same things, fear and danger. It thinks they're the two same things. If you're scared of spiders, for example, there is one species of spider in this country that can bite you and make you feel a bit sick. So the fear, the danger, there's no danger there. Unless you are that unlucky a man-eating spider has found its way over here on a box of fruit from Africa and it seeked you out. The likelihood is very, 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 you know, millions to one. Okay, so the problem with spiders is fear, not danger, for a lot of people. But you will act in the same way. That happens with scenario planning. So when something comes up that you're fearful of or not confident about, or something that might push out your comfort zone, what happens is your brain starts generating a load of what if scenarios. Okay, and they're normally not good what if scenarios, because your brain wants to work out which is going to be the worst so you can deal with it. Okay, so what we have to really do with our brain is tell our brain the difference between fear and danger. Is this thing dangerous to me? What is the danger that is posing, or is it my fear of? Okay, I'm running a course next month. And it's not my material. Somebody's asked me to run one of their courses for some people in America, and it's not my material. And that puts me outside my comfort zone a little bit, because I've got to learn somebody else's material and deliver it their way and all this type of stuff, right? And, you know, it's constantly been there, constantly been in the back of my head, but it's not dangerous, but it is causing me some fear. So it's causing me a bit of fear, and occasionally I've gone, oh God, what happens if this doesn't go well? And it's their brand as well as my brand that I'm thinking, and so on and so on and so on. Rather than actually going, how well will this go? So rather than getting the what if scenarios of how well it could possibly go, that's what we need to do, rather than the what if scenarios that create the uncertainty. So just bear that in mind. Fear is different to danger, but your brain will put you into a what if scenario to try and keep you safe. That's where we are now emotionally intelligent enough to overtake the brain, to give it a better instruction and kind of go, you know what, yes, scenario planning is important, I understand that, we only need to do it once, and actually what are the best case scenarios as well as potentially the worst case scenarios, okay? Okay, some tips then for you to take away about uncertainty, because I want to get onto emotional overwhelm. One, take action on what you can control. Okay, so list out what you can control and then generate an action plan. When people are feeling uncertain, they will focus, let's turn this heater off, 1 second. They will focus on what they can't do a lot of the time. So what we want to do is focus on what you can do. And you can see the little drawing here, things that matter, things that you can control, and there's normally a little crossover here, okay? So focus on what you can control rather than what you can't control, and that's really, really quite key to take away. There might be some things that you can't control, but you could influence. Okay? And I think we've done a session on influencing skills. I think that's on the YouTube channel. So there's 6 different tools for influencing things. So go and have a look at that. And if you've got any questions, let me know. But what can you control? What could you possibly influence? And influence, you might not be able to influence it directly, but you might be able to influence it indirectly. Okay? So just have a think about that, because sometimes when we can't control things, it does make us feel better if we feel that we can influence it in some way. Okay? List out what you can't control and then park them. So this is another good thing. You know, I tell people to list out what you can control. Some people struggle to do that straight away because they've got all the stuff they can't control in their head. So if you can't list out what you can control, then do a list of what you can't control. Get it out. Get it out of your head. Write it down, okay? And then park it. But you have to mentally park it, okay? One of my old colleagues used to say that she kind of had an imaginary piece of hardboard that she would slot into her head every now and then. And this cardboard, this imaginary, you know, cardboard or hardboard, whatever, it would slot into her head. And all the stuff that she couldn't control or influence, she'd put behind the hardboard and then just move the hardboard back so they were squished against the back of her head. So it gave her the rest of the brain power for the rest of the day. That was just her little way of doing it. So write out what you can't control. Quite interestingly, a lot of people do that list and then realise that they can have some influence or can control some of it as well. So it's really interesting when you actually list it down rather than thinking of, oh, there's that, and then there's that, and then later, 2 minutes later, there's that, and 3 minutes later, there's that. Write it all down, get it out, and then park what you can't control. Mentally park, go, do you know what? Can't control that right now. Parked it. And also, it might be can't control that right now. It might not even be I can't control that forever. I can't control that right now. Park, okay? We did do a session back in April time about acting now rather than for the future. Obviously in first lockdown, people were restricted and couldn't do things they would normally do. So we ran a session about how do you act for the now and plan for the future. And that was all about park it, because you might not be able to do it right now, but you can always come back to that list as well. So if you do struggle with writing down what you can control, write down what you can't control, park it, have a look actually back at that list again, what could you influence any of that stuff, and then write down what you can control. Really, really good little point. Take action on what you can control, okay? And not just write the list, go and take action on what you can control, because that taking action alone will help you feel better when it comes to it. Number 2, oh, that's not in order, I apologise for that. Let's get all these things in. That went a bit pear-shaped, didn't it? Challenge your need for certainty. So this is where you now start challenging, because, you know, I'll be very honest with you, I struggle with this, because I want things to be black and white, certain. I want to know exactly what's going on, when it's going on, it's in the diary, don't change it because that's what we've agreed, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean, yeah? So I have to sometimes do this with me. Challenge your need for certainty. Why is it that we need everything certain all of the time? Maybe it's historic, maybe it's society we live in, whatever it may be, but challenge it. So in addition to worrying through every scenario, you may excessively seek reassurance from others, micromanage people, procrastinate, and repeatedly check things. So because of this need for certainty, you might do all of these things. So just notice a couple of those things. Micromanage other people. That's never normally a great thing to do unless somebody particularly likes being micromanaged. It may actually make you procrastinate and stop doing things, or repeatedly checking over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, like when I leave my house, I kind of have to check the door several times to make sure it's locked. Maybe I'm a bit OCD, I don't know. But sometimes we need to challenge that need for certainty and maybe just go, I don't know what's going to happen, I'm just going to go with it. Okay, now for some people on this call, I've just said that and you're going, oh my God, I can't do that. No, I can't just go with it. Yeah? So, some of you will be going, yeah, I can go with it, no problem. It will depend on your personality profile that you've got. If you're a high red, like me, you kind of struggle to just go with things because you want everything in order. Okay? If you're a lower red, maybe higher green, maybe you kind of go, what, you doing what? Let's just go with it. Just go with it, see what happens. I've certainly got better at going with it since COVID came around. Because the controlling factor in my profile, as it's been very low because there's not been a lot to control, to be honest. So it's been easier to go, do you know what, I'll see what tomorrow brings. I'll see what the next news update brings. I'll see what Boris says next time he's on, and so on and so on and so on, okay? So sometimes you just need to challenge that need for certainty. Do we need to be certain about everything all of the time? Should we just go with the flow, as it were, sometimes, okay? Challenging need for certainty, again, challenging behaviours here, okay? So, if you look at something, you might, and you're not quite sure what's going to happen, you might start looking at, okay, well, what are the advantages and disadvantages of these things? That comes back to your scenario planning, but make sure you're doing both. Okay, don't just look at the disadvantages or all the bad stuff that might happen. You might want to look at the advantages, well, you definitely want to look at the advantages of it as well. For instance, when the first lockdown happened, I didn't see any advantage to my organisation whatsoever when the lockdown went in place from a business point of view. Since then, one of the advantages is that, you know, we've got a fully fledged film studio and we're able to do stuff for people all over the world, in the States and Canada and in Asia and so on, which we've been doing, which potentially might not have done before in such scope. So it's try to look for the advantages and disadvantages. What is absolute in life? Again, that comes back to going, you know, is there anything that's absolute? I think there's only really two things that are absolute. You know, we're born and we die, and you know, and that's about it, isn't it, when it comes to it? I mean, what else is absolute? And that, just giving some thought around that might help you with what you're trying to control and help you deal with that uncertainty. Because what is really absolute? Yeah, is it absolute that, you know, we're gonna, you know, do what we think we're gonna do tomorrow? You know, and so on and so on. So just as a question to ask, what is really absolute? What is really certain? Because you'll probably find that most things are uncertain actually, but that might freak you out a bit until we get a head around it, okay? Uncertainty doesn't mean bad. So this is another little concept to think about in your head. Uncertainty doesn't necessarily mean negative. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean negative. Identify uncertainty triggers. So what is it that's triggering that feeling? Okay? Recognize when you feel the need for uncertainty. So recognize when the feeling comes. Okay, so if you again recognize it, it'll help you label it as well. Allow yourself to feel uncertain. So go with it, be okay with it, test it out. Yeah, go, do you know what? I feel like all out of balance at the moment. I'm going to go with it. Okay, balance is good. We like balance. Let's go with it. Just give it a test and see how it feels, yeah? You're not a fortune teller. So actually, being certain about stuff all the time is an unrealistic goal. Why? Because uncertainty is reality. That's the reality of life. Things are uncertain every day. So to actually think that you can be certain about everything, you're going to struggle with that. You're going to major struggle with that because you're going to get disappointed on a regular basis. Yeah? And then shift your attention once you've labelled it, once you've done the, you know, the labelling, if you like. Shift your attention to focus on something else. Okay? Good. Number 4. Focus on the present. So again, I mentioned this earlier, when things are uncertain, it's normally the future that you're uncertain about. Focus on the present. Okay, take your mind on the present. You've got you're not normally uncertain about the past because that's happened. It's always imagined future that we're uncertain. That's scenario thinking. So focus on the present. Uncertainty is normal worry about a future state. Cannot control the future. Leaves us feeling hopeless, depressed about the delays ahead that we're going to get. Sorry, the days ahead. Switch your attention to the now. What are you going to do in the next 5 minutes? What are you going to do in the next 30 minutes? What are you going to do in the next hour? Okay, so I went through this when I was going through my divorce. My emotions weren't great. The divorce was up and down. Things were changing every day, and I remember it was my father actually. I remember speaking to him one day going, what about this, and if she does that, and what happens if this happens, and all this type of stuff. And my dad just went, you know, focus on the next 5 minutes. And the moment he said it, I thought, I know that. I know that. I teach this stuff, I know that, but I wasn't doing it. Okay, so when your head starts getting all muddled about the future, one of the things that you can do, focus on the next 5 minutes. Yeah, focus on the next 10 minutes. What you're going to accomplish in the next 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, then move to the next hour, then move to the next hour. It's quite a good little stopgap exercise to just bring you back into the present. And any type of mindfulness will also focus on bringing you to the present and tagging your thoughts. So this tagging thing is quite important. Have a trigger. You're going to laugh at this, but my trigger is right about now. Now, I don't know anybody similar to my age, but right about now, the Funk Soul Brother is a song by Fatboy Slim. And it goes, right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. That's all you're going to get out of me from a singing voice. That is my trigger. When I'm getting my head muddled in the future, I actually go, right about now. And what that does is it says, right about now. Focus on now. That's the trigger I use. So that's an embarrassing thing to admit, I'll give you that, but right about now, that's my little trigger for bringing me back to the present and focusing on what's in front of me rather than there's 4 million scenarios that might be going on in my head as well. So find a trigger to bring you to the present. Very, very useful. Okay. Number 5, manage stress and anxiety. Again, we've done this a number of different times on different sessions, so it's only a quick slide. Exercise, get moving. Book in relaxation, that's an important one. Make sure you book in time to relax. Don't just think it will happen on its own, because it generally won't. Something else will take over. Sleep well, eat well. Okay, I'm not going to do any more in that because we've gone through other sessions where we've covered that a lot. If you want more on that, go and check out the YouTube channel. There's loads of stuff on what type of exercise you should be doing, how you can sleep better, and how you can eat better. Okay, all that type of stuff.